Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Number 9. Number 9. Hello. Hey Danks, welcome to the stream, man. Hey Cobwebs Cavern, welcome to the stream. How are you guys doing today? Is the audio coming in all right? I hear it echoing. Test, test. Sounds like it is on my end. What's up with you guys today? Let's see if I can get this light a little bit more forward. Thanks, Cobwebs. It's always hard to tell from this end. I'm actually got no axe to grind today either. Christmas season is upon us, so and I've been playing with my new. It's basically my entire Christmas, which is that 100mm Takina lens that I got. Hey Fish Tropic, welcome to the stream, man. This lens is incredible. I have been scraping by on just kind of getting the cheaper lenses that I could afford. But let me tell you something. This lens is something. It's a 100mm Takina 2.8 macro lens, and it has about as fine a focus area as Cobwebs Cavern says he used to have a Takina for his Minolta cameras, mostly now just use Minolta and Sony lenses on my Sony DSLR bodies. I basically am learning photography as I go, which ought to be obvious from the output of my latest picture taking ability. It's pretty much on display, which basically means that the focus range on a macro lens like this is so tight. You can basically have the eyes of a fish in focus and have the tail of a fish slightly behind it out of focus. So it's got a very narrow focus range, but I'm gonna work with it. I'm gonna see if I can finally get myself to a point where I can actually take pictures, and I've got a piece of equipment now that will allow me to do what I want if I can figure out how to do it. I've learned a few things about photography. One of them is, yeah, Cobwebs Cavern says low photography is like fish keeping in a way that it is part science and part art. Yeah, it's the art part of it, the composition part of it is way beyond my means right now to grasp. I've asked several photographers, how do you see a picture? How do you how do you know what kind of composition that you're trying to set up? And I've not gotten an explanation that gave me any real grasp of how to do it. But I chose Nikon because I like the way Nikons are set up. I like the reliability of the Nikon, and I like the fact that Nikon has way more lenses than anybody else. You can always buy a connector that will allow you to use a Nikon lens on some other camera or some other lens on a Nikon camera, but I'm just not ready to go there yet in the sense of trying to do that. You know, I have to save my pennies for something like this. So, hey Valley Fish, welcome to the stream. That's currently the state I'm in, is that I'm trying my best to learn. Cobwebs Cavern says composition is based on the subject. For most fish pictures, then a simple center shot is usually best. Yeah, I haven't even gotten to that yet, in the sense of I'm still working on trying to figure out how to catch them. I mean, I'm working on filming and photography at the same time, and so it's a bit of an overload for me to try to, at this late date in my life. Hey Big E's, welcome to the stream, man. At this late date in my lifetime, to try to wrap my head around the skill of videography and the skill of photography at the same time, it's a lot to chew, and I've bitten off large chunks of it and tried to chew my way through them. Cobwebs Cavern says for landscapes, then you want to work on the rule of thirds. Basically draw knots and crosses in your mind's eye and put your points of focus at one of the intersections. Yeah, hey Fish Man, welcome to the stream. We're talking about my I'm gloating over my Christmas present, which is a Takina 100mm macro lens, and I'm gloating over it, but I still am not functional with it yet. So I'm working at it. I'm trying to spend a lot of time with the lens. I'm trying to spend a lot of time studying the lens, studying how to make it work, studying how it will aid me in my composition, how it will aid me in, you know, I'm kind of coming at this back-asswards because I'm basically trying to do what I need to do rather than learn how to do what I should do. Yeah, it's a D5300 that I picked up for $300 through one of the online used sellers, and I highly recommend anyone that's into photography or is trying to get into it to figure out what it is that they want. I bought this one because it will do really decent video. It'll do 60 frames per second, and it also has the articulating screen, view screen, and that makes it handy so that I can flip it around when I'm doing vlogging. And that's basically one of the reasons why I decided on this camera. Now, this is an older camera. It's long past its expiration date in the sense of how old it is, but it has as many of the bells and whistles as I could afford on my budget, which is basically a fixed budget, and I have to scrimp and save to spend on something, especially like this lens in the $400 range. That's a big chunk of change for me, so I'm just tickled to death to have this thing. I think that it will be extremely handy to take to Peru, and that's one of the reasons why I got it. People will tell you that it is a perfect portrait lens, that it is a decent landscape and architecture lens, while not being a wide-angle view. At the limited, it's got a button switch on the side that you can switch to limit or full. You can go full macro. Hey Kyle, welcome to the stream, man. We're talking about my new lens. That's the one big thing in my Fishman, Corey, and Bob Steenfott and I are supposed to go next July, next year. And yep, nice photon copier. The megapixels on this camera are about 24, I believe, and it is a crop sensor camera, so it's a DX. So a lens like this 100mm Tacina, the auto focus does not function on it, so it's an all manual. Cobwebs Cavern says, I have 3 Sony bodies, most getting on for 10 years old now. I don't video, so they do all I will ever need. Don't get caught up in chasing the newer is better nonsense. I bought, like I said, I got this camera for a little over $300, and I bought I also got 2 lenses. Fishman, you probably won't be able to smuggle yourself in my luggage, but I'll take you in this vehicle right here, because I am going to film, interview, take snapshots as much as I possibly can. It's kind of a dream trip for me. You know, I don't know, some people it may not be that big of a deal, but I have watched people like Rusty Wessel and Heiko Blair and Ingo Seidel and people like that go on trips to collect in the wild for years and years and years and followed their work. And if I had my druthers, I would be going to Brazil, the Tapajos River to collect, but Brazil has pretty much clamped down on that. You really can't get a lot of collection or trips to that area anymore, because they've banned export of so many different species. So Kyle says, be sure to bring a big external hard drive so you have room for all the data. Yeah, it's I'm still pondering that one. I'm hoping that Corey and Bob are going to bring a couple of examples of that stuff, and at worst case scenario, I might get to unload some of my camera data onto them. Hey Laura, welcome to the stream. I'm not sure. I've searched around, but all of the available options that I have looked into are in the $500, $600, $700 range. I have lots of hard drives. I may be able to set something up with a hard drive. I hope to bring my wife's Galaxy tablet, but I'm not sure how effective that's going to be at downloading and holding lots of photography or video data. It might work for uploading, you know, so that I can upload while I'm still there. I can bring my phone, and I think I can set it up as a Wi-Fi hotspot and then log on with that Samsung tablet and upload stuff. Kyle says an external hard drive for 1 terabyte should only be like $40, but you'll need a PC to transfer files. Exactly. There are all kinds of Kyle's also saying Google has free unlimited photo and video storage. The problem with that, Kyle, is we are going to be in the boonies of the boonies because we're going to be in southeastern Peru. It is a national park. It is an unspoiled area. The Rio Dios Madre, which to me says the river of the Mother of God. And it is a unspoiled area, which is one of the reasons why I'm so hep to go. And there are species continually coming out. Hans Evers from Amazonas has published many articles about the Corydoras he's pulled out of there and the other fish. Ian Fuller is one of the people we're going with. He's one of the people from Go Wild Peru, which is the company that we're going through. Mark Baker is one of the people, and he's really good too. So there's a lot of excellent reasons to choose this method. Hey, down the wormhole. Welcome to the stream. We're not really talking about anything down the wormhole, so if any of you guys have questions or topics to bring up, I'm pretty much effusing about my new 100 millimeter Tachina Macro 2.8 lens. Ian Fuller is one of the foremost experts on Corydoras in the world, Kyle. I'm not sure he would claim that moniker, but he is. Valley Fish, the trip is going to, it's 8 days, but it's 7 days on the actual fish collecting, and then it's basically 24 hours to 36 hours on either side for the flights. Hey, KP Aquariums, welcome to the stream, man. Things are going okay. I can't complain. We've got the holiday season upon us, which can be slightly stressful sometimes, but personally, things are going fine for me. How are they going for you, man? Down the wormhole says, oh, that sounds like so much fun. I've been married to my wife now for 20 plus years, and when she heard me start talking about Go Wild Peru and the trips that they offer, she said, honey, you've been talking to me about going to South America to collect fish ever since I first known you. You've got to find some way to do this. So I'm finding some way to do this. It's way expensive. It's probably going to be about $5,000 a piece between plane tickets, the cost of the tour, money that we'll spend in the process. It's not going to be cheap, but how can you put a price on something that you have wanted to do your entire life? And I'm not getting any younger. My physicality is such that I don't know how much longer I could go before I did something like this and still be able to functionally do it. So I'm going to go for it. you know, knock on wood. Brian Schurman, welcome to the stream, says, hi Dwayne, listening while walking in a snowstorm. Well, dude, keep yourself warm, man. Layers, lots of layers is the best thing. I hope I'm worthy of being listened to while you're walking in a snowstorm. Down the Wormhole says, I can't even imagine. I have never tried such an endeavor. So glad you're getting it done. Yeah, me too. I've been on pins and needles about this trip the whole time it's been planned. You know, I'm doing my best. KP Aquarium says, Dwayne, you don't look a day over 35, bud. You're going to have a blast. And I'm getting close to twice that, KP Aquarium. So I am going to have a blast. It's something I've wanted to do my entire life. Ever since I started collecting fish. Let's see. I need to do my tip. I haven't done my tip. Because sometimes these tips give kind of a meaning to the live stream and give us something to talk about. And I just do random tips. And the book is 500 Ways to be a Better Freshwater Fish Keeper. Yeah, I'm just a young pup, Fishman. Sometimes I don't feel like a young pup. Sometimes I feel just like a young pup, though. Tip 369, Better Compatibility Section. Clown loaches need their own kind around them. Some fish need the company of their own kind, or they never seem to thrive. It is not humane to purchase a single clown loach, Botia macracantha, or Corydoras, for just this reason. They may not be true school fish, but they are certainly gregarious and will pine without others of their species, even though they may never spawn in the aquarium. And that tip is near and dear to my heart. Laura asks, is it just yourself, Corey, and Bob going? Is Jimmy going too? Now, that's the $64,000 question, Laura, because I've talked to Jimmy about it, and he's really not interested in going. I think it might be something that's outside of his comfort zone. You know, it's not going to be a fancy trip with someone baiting your hook for you and someone pointing and telling you where to cast your line and then fixing you a mint julep while you recline in your reclining chair in the boat. It's not going to be like that at all, nor would I be interested in it if it was like that. You can go on Go Wild Peru's website and check out the accommodations, and they are basically cots in a bare room, and it's not going to be easy. We're going to do a lot of walking. We're going to do a lot of slogging through river water, a lot of slogging through muddy stream banks, a lot of getting into the water and trying to net fish out of... No, I'm not calling Jimmy spoiled, KP Aquariums. Don't get me wrong. That's not it at all. But some people are aware of their comfort zone and realize when things are outside of it. So, you know, I have the feeling that Corey wants him to go because Corey knows that he'll be free to not do the video stuff and enjoy the trip. Corey would be more free to let Jimmy do the video stuff, and then he would be more free to actually enjoy the trip. But we'll just have to see what happens when it gets to the end. When we get right down to the wire, whether Corey can convince Jimmy to come or not. Fishman says it wouldn't be a collecting trip without all of that. And that's it in a nutshell. My wife was talking to me about watching these guys on YouTube fish all day and get nothing. And I tried to explain to her, when we go out fishing, and this is not fish collecting, this is fishing. When we go out fishing as a group of guys, it's not so much about catching fish. It is more about the camaraderie of being out in the wild together. It is also more about communing with nature. It's about there's a whole other component that has to do with a group of people banding together and going out into the wild to do something together. It's almost like going to war in the sense that you have to depend on each other. And don't misconstrue me saying that going fishing or going fish collecting is like going to war literally. It's in the sense of a band of brothers. You have to pitch in together to help. You have to use each individual's area of, if not expertise, luck, that you use what they can do to the fullest extent, and then others help that happen. And then when another's area of expertise or luck is working, the others band together to help that happen. It's much more than we're going to go out there and we're going to get enough fish for dinner. That is a huge component, but it is not the only component. And so when you say, I'm going to go fishing, even if it's just by yourself, it's as much about sitting quietly by a stream or in a boat as it is about the actual catching of fish. The actual catching of fish is the icing on the cake. The cake is actually being there in the environment, absorbing what's going on around you, and communing in the sense of being part of all of that, being in all of that. And that's kind of a hard thing to express. It's kind of a difficult thing to get across unless you've done it over and over and over again. But I think it's a huge part of it. So yes, it wouldn't be a collecting trip without all that. If you're going to be a great poet, you need to suffer a little bit. If you're going to be a great blues artist and write great blues songs, there's a certain amount of suffering that goes into that. You're not going to be able to express pain you've never felt before or have had some similar pain to it. So yes, there's going to be some pain involved in this collecting trip, in the sense that we may push ourselves past our physical limits for walking in the outdoors and trudging around. But Ian Fuller kind of put me in my place when I was talking to him in email, talking about my age and how I felt about what we were going to do and whether I was functionally capable of doing it, and I think I am. He said, Dwayne, I'm in my 70s and I do it. So there you go. I've got no reason to moan and groan. I'm going to enjoy every minute. I'm going to bitch and piss and moan when something's going on that I'm miserable about, but I'm going to be smiling the entire time that I do it. Just because I've got the opportunity to be there with those kinds of people, and to experience the potential possibility of pulling a fish out of the wild that no one's ever seen before. Those are the kinds of things that are priceless when you stack them up against value and money. You know, money is just money. Doing something like this has a value way beyond all that stuff, at least to me. All right, enough of me waxing non-poetic about fish collecting trips. Yeah, I can't wait to see the videos either. I can't wait to film the videos, Fishman. Okay, Cobweb Cavern, on the topic of the freshwater fish keeper tip, said clown loaches will shoal with other loaches. Although they are a chromobotia and different from yo-yo loaches, and like they will school with them, even blue loaches. Yeah, it's I have had 6 over 13-inch clown loaches in a 110-gallon tank. I wanted so desperately back in the 70s, the early 70s, to be one of the people that first bred clown loaches in a tank, because clown loaches were one of the species that no one had ever knowingly bred. There was one instance that I read in a magazine. It may have been the Tetra magazine that I've talked about so much, that described a guy who bought a clown loach, put it in his tank, and then a week later, or bought several clown loaches, and then a week later noticed a baby clown loach in one of his plants. So it has happened before, but it's very rare. And to this day, I don't know, honestly, if anyone has bred clown loaches. They probably have. Someone's probably done it. I'm just not aware of it. But anyway, at the time, I wanted to do that. That was something that I set myself up to do, that I went out and purchased fish that I felt like gave me the best chance to do that. And like I said, I got them up over 13 inches over a period of 2.5 years in a 110-gallon tank. I got them up over 13 inches. Now, I bought them kind of large. They were in a dealer's tank, and they were kind of large. They were probably in the 5 to 6 inch range when I bought them, so I knew that they were more adult. AH2O fishes, welcome to the stream, man. Clown loaches are an extremely different kind of fish to keep. They, you know, Corey's got that huge shoal of them in his tank, and you can watch them shoal together. They don't school, but it is very close to schooling, and they shoal like crazy. They will all swim together for a second and then split into different directions. Cobweb's Cavern says, I think they still haven't bred clown loaches in captivity with any regularity. And there's got to be some trigger, Cobwebs. There's got to be some wild trigger, some change in water quality that happens in the wild. You know, maybe a certain plant during a stormy season gets knocked into the water that's not normally there, that puts some kind of chemical or some kind of pheromone of some sort into the water that causes them to start breeding, or temperature change, or water flow change, something that is troublingly difficult to replicate in a home aquarium is probably going on in the wild that causes them to do that. It might even be a food that they're suddenly getting at a certain period of time. There's a million different kinds of triggers that can trigger a species of fish into breeding. It might even be something as simple as what Eric Bodrock does with his Corydorus. He has a whole stack of small Corydorus tanks that are all linked together. In other words, the water from the top row flows into the tanks in the bottom row. That row flows into the tanks below them, and then they all go into a sump. Well, what happens in that situation is if one tank of Corydorus starts breeding, they kick out certain chemicals from that breeding that then gets circulated through all the other tanks and will cause, potentially, will cause the other Corydorus to start breeding, because they recognize that other Corydorus in the same water with them are breeding. So there's a million different kinds of triggers that we need to learn to use when we're trying to breed our fish in an enclosed aquarium. And it's very often, it is just a rank hobbyist that just tries something different that no one's ever expressed as being, good to do. They throw a piece of bamboo in their tank, or they create some new water filter that creates, they make a water filter out of a bucket hanging over the tank that splashes water in a certain way on the tank. And suddenly they've triggered breeding behavior that didn't happen for anyone else, no matter what they tried. And that's why rank hobbyists, and I use the term rank loosely, in the sense of someone that is just budding their skills at learning how to make their fish thrive. People that aren't really seriously dedicated to the hobby, perhaps, but who, through some method of their own, have managed to create a situation that no one else created before. And all it takes is just one person to do it, and then all of a sudden, boom, you've got a Doug of the North. Welcome to the stream, man. Interesting theories. Add moderator. Doug of the North, you're now a moderator. Say hi to Nisi for me. I am in awe of Nisi's amazing mod work that she has done. We're all kind of in awe of that. H2O Fishes asks, what's a good tank mate for Grommies? I would suggest to you, I've kept Grommies before, but it's been a long time ago, and I kept them more as a community fish in a community tank than I ever did trying to breed them. So I'm not going to have the best suggestions as to what is a good tank mate from experience, but I would tell you to go online and look in the areas that the specific Grommy that you're picking out is from, and look at the, wow, I'm showing that my stream just went offline. It looks like I'm kicking in and out from my end. I'm not sure exactly what that's about. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm offline and you guys are not getting this. Well, it looks like I'm back on now, but it's definitely showing in the red. It looks like it's going in and out. I just did a update of XSplit today, and it may be doing something that that isn't working out so well for me. I'm not sure. I apologize. I'm fiddling with settings, seeing if I can get it to change. This could very well be the beginnings of net neutrality being an issue. I lost here. Video output low. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. All right, guys. I can't even get it to cut off. Sorry, guys. I've definitely got something locked up on my machine here some kind of way. Yeah, I'm a hunt and peck typer, guys.